healthy, normal people understand that it is all right to be unique individuals, often quite unlike those around them, and that many, if not most, of the differences, problems, and misunderstandings they may have experienced with others can be explained in terms of the perfectly normal but different choices in the way people take in and process information. The premise of this book is that each of us has a set of gifts, a set of mental tools that we have become comfortable using, and thus reach for in the everyday business of living. Although we all have access to the same basic tools in our psychological toolbox, each of us is more comfortable with, and thus prefers, a particular tool or set of tools for a particular task. It is our unique set of these preferences that gives us our distinct personality and makes us appear similar or dissimilar to others. A common problem that has often led to stress for many of us is our apparent inability, at times, to communicate about something that is very clear and personally very important to us to someone we care about in a way that that person agrees or at least understands its importance to us. We may feel hurt and rejected by the lack of recognition of our concern, or we may feel baffled by the failure of that person to appreciate the logic of our position. In Gifts Differing, Isabel Myers gives us recognizable explanations for these and many other normal but different uses of our personality tools, and points the way to the constructive uses of human differences. To help put this book in perspective, a little history of how it came to be written may be appropriate. Isabel Myers and her mother, Catherine Cook Briggs, had been interested in Jung's theory for about 16 years when the Second World War took many men from the industrial workforce into the services and brought many women out of their normal activities to replace them. Since, for the majority of these women, the heavy industrial workplace was strange new territory, my mother and grandmother thought that a knowledge of one's personality preferences in terms of Jungian type theory might be a valuable aid to identifying the kind of job for the war effort in which someone without previous relevant experience could be most comfortable and effective. They searched in vain for a test or some indicator of a person's Jungian preferences, and finally decided to create one of their own. The result was to become the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator Personality Inventory, Indicator or MBTI. Since neither were psychologists or psychometricians, they had to start from scratch. As long as they worked on their own to understand and correlate their observations, they had no problem. But when, in 1943, they produced the first set of questions destined to become the MBTI, they came face to face with a double-barreled opposition from the academic community. In the first place, neither was a psychologist. Neither had an advanced degree or, for that matter, any formal training in psychology, statistics, or test construction. Second, the academic community, and even the Jungian scholars and analysts at that time, had little use for Jung's theory of psychological type, and therefore even less use for a self-report questionnaire purporting to identify Jungian type created by two unknown women who were obviously totally unqualified. As it happened, however, Isabel Myers was not all that unqualified. True, she had no formal academic training in the required disciplines, but she had a first-class mind and had, for more than a year, apprenticed herself to someone who was a qualified expert in the techniques and tools she needed. That person was Edward N. Hay, at that time personnel manager of a large financial bank in Philadelphia, and from him she learned what she needed to know about test construction, scoring, validation, and statistics. Undismayed by the lack of interest or acceptance by the psychological community, Isabel Myers concentrated on developing the indicator.